you moved to Chicago. You decided not to take the job at Apple.
Yeah. So I was offered a job after working at Apple, which was super cool because basically like the 3-month internship is just a long interview.
Gotcha.
And my boss asked me at the end, he's like, "Hey, you've done some good work here. What do you want to do?" And I told him I was like very frank. I could see the passion that not only I was growing for small businesses and like starting my own, but for my co-founder Belchin. Like, dude I just want to take a second to talk about him. Belchin is one of the hardest working people. I don't tell him this enough, but he's one of the hardest working people I've ever met. Like, truly one of those people that I wouldn't be doing this without Beltran. Like he just has that. And I think it's something about coming from a different country and knowing they know that so much is on the line. Like you see this all the time with international kids. Like they know what's at stake and they know that they don't want to ruin the opportunity that they have here. And he's definitely one of those people where he'll so good at capitalizing on opportunities and focusing on what's in front of him and just getting shit done. Like, yeah, they say surround yourself with people you want to be like. I want to be more like him in those aspects. So
cool. Yeah, that's awesome. He sounds awesome.
Yeah. But and also just super chill, like able to lay back and like smoke some weed sometimes. It's legal in Illinois, so I can say that.
Cool.
Yeah. But anyways, what was the point that we were talking about here again?
That you left your job at Apple. Which, I mean, that's I think that's like. I think a lot of people, I think it's very easy for people to fall into that, like, that lane of like, follow your passion and stuff. Cause they never actually had any real opportunities that like were given to them that like, they had to deny, but you were offered a job at Apple Computer and you were like, no, that's huge.
Yeah. A lot of people, when I tell that story to them, they kind of have that look of like, are you joking? Like you didn't actually work for them, right? And I'm like, no, I had the offer on the table. I could have made $120,000 a year, like entry level, like no problem.
Wow.
But I saw the passion that my co-founders had. I have another co-founder, Dan. I didn't really mention him too much, but he also worked for Microsoft and Facebook. And I convinced, I really didn't. Well, I don't want to say I convinced them because I didn't really need. If anything, they convinced me at times to all like forego that path, that common path that any parent or any mentor would tell you is the right way to go, or most mentors, I'd say, would tell you is the right way to go, and just follow our passions, which is it's scary. It's a very scary thing, but it's exciting, and it's like starting a startup is a true call to it's call to adventure, right? And it's perilous. You can lose a lot. I've lost a lot of money already. I lost I saved $15,000 working at Apple, and I lost all of it building my last company, all of it. And but it wasn't a loss to me because I was building something that I believed in, and I learned so much. Like I grew so much as a person and understand the world through a whole new lens, and all these trite statements that are always somewhat true, right? That are hard to put into words.
No, I mean, that's what I fully agree. And I don't mean to keep interjecting with my like personal experiences.
No, I like it.
I never lost 15 grand on a venture like that, but I don't know early on when I was like making videos and I realized it's like, oh my God, I just want to do this for the rest of my life. How can I make content for the rest of my life and like build a career that way? I don't know. I once bought this like modified, game system. It was a 3DS from Japan, and it was like $1,200.
I had a 3DS as well, dude.
Yeah, there you go. But it was like really expensive. No, it was like 900, but like with this special modification, it was like $1,200. And I was like, I need this thing.
What made it so expensive?
It was a Katsu Kitty capture card in it, and so like it was the only possible way that you could play and record brand new 3DS titles. Like when they were released, right? So there was a new Pokemon game coming out.
So it let you record the actual screen of the 3DS as opposed to like having to point the camera at it.
Exactly, which is, I mean, God, could you imagine? Oh, no, God.
The screens are like 500p. So
it's like, the worst. It's the worst. So I don't know. And previously I'd watched this other guy that I was a huge fan of go from like 0 to 500,000 subscribers, or it was 300,000 at the time, and it was on the back of the release of Pokemon X and Y. This is such a dorky, stupid thing, but that has nothing to do with your working for Apple. But I'm sorry.
Anyway, keep going.
He went from 0 to 300K, because he had this special system, right? So I was like, okay, I don't care how much this costs. Like I've watched this guy do this. And I was in school at the time, and I was totally in over my head, and I had no workflow, and I had like no like schedule, and I didn't even really know if it was something I wanted to do, but I was like, I don't care. This is what I'm doing. And I bought this thing, and I spent like $1,200. And for me, that was all of my money at the time, right? It was just like this. Yeah, total misstep, right? Misstep. But it's like, I don't view that as a misstep, right? It's like, because I learned that it's like, hey, like the equipment is nice, but you know, the equipment only is as good as like the
person wielding it. Yeah.
So, cool. What did most of your 15K go towards? Like, just like,
oh man, so a big part of building that software was buying the software licenses required to communicate, not to get too much into the technology, but like to communicate with the restaurant's computer system, right? That makes and closes the checks, because that's what we were doing through the software, is doing it from a person's phone. So that level of communication, getting what's called API access, application programmatic interface access to these computer systems, cost a lot of money from these companies. So that's mainly what we paid for. But a lot of it, you know, we were doing all the development, so that was free, just our time.
Right. Yeah.
And
Opportunity cost.
Yeah, and a lot of the marketing was done for us because it worked by placing a QR code, like a little QR code sign, on the table that you would scan with your phone. So a lot of that marketing was kind of done for us. But yeah, it was mainly just buying those licenses. They were ridiculously expensive because, you know, the restaurant business is huge. It's like all these companies are selling to other big companies.
Right. Yeah. Did you ever negotiate with those companies directly over the phone? Say, hey, you know, we're just a couple of college kids. Like, help us out. Cut us a break. I don't want to pay you $10,000 right now. Like, help me out. Did they?
Yeah. No. So we have a funny story. Dan and I, my other co-founder, we ended up going to the New York City Restaurant Association show in March of 2019. Yeah, so a little over a year ago. And we actually met the guys from Micros, which are one of the big players in the POS space for restaurants. Cool. We met the guys there, and they invited us out to drinks later. We went to like this. Are you familiar with like their like ping pong bars?
Cool.
Apparently that's a hip thing. So we went to a ping pong bar. It was so cool, like a ping pong bar, and we were like pitching them on like why we need like special access and stuff. We want a cheap deal, and like we're these young hungry guys, and like we got all the way to you know, getting drinks for them. And dude, these guys are no joke. Like these guys, at one point one got like too drunk, and he goes, what makes you think you're so fucking special? Like dude, like attacking us, and we were like trying to attack back and stuff, and it got heated, and it had to get calmed down a little bit. Yeah, that was a whole story in and of itself that I could go off on. But yeah, we tried our best. I got on phone calls with like VPs of product at like huge, you know, tens of $1 million companies, and and
give me access, please. There's no reason why you should, or I mean, here's a list of reasons, but like, please help me.
Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And I don't know if are you familiar with the POS Toast?
No.
Okay, so that's a big one that's growing in the restaurant space. They actually started as what we were trying to do. So they started back in 2013, before Apple Pay was even a thing. Yeah. They started trying to build a mobile payment app for restaurants, and it failed, but they pivoted into making a point of sale. So I thought they would sympathize with it, but they were like the hardest one. I was like, oh, fuck these guys, you know? So
yeah, that's a funny story. That does, like, isn't that a little bit reassuring though? Like, you know, like, hey, they had the same concept, right? It's a validated idea. Yeah. You know, we might not have had the right balls in place and the right like things at the time. It wasn't that time for us, but you know, this idea was validated and made someone some money. I mean, and they pivoted away from it, but I think that's awesome. Are you talking about POS system, like a little kiosk thing? Is that right? Like with the games on it at like an Applebee's or something like that, or something similar?
So no, that would be a competitor to what we were trying to do. The kiosk. The kiosk communicates with the POS. So the POS is the point of sale. That's where they actually swipe your card, like the hostess would swipe your card. Gotcha. The kiosk allows you to swipe it at the table, but it needs communication with that POS.
Gotcha.
So what we were trying to do with Table, and I should clarify for the listener that like we're not working on that anymore for reasons I can get into if you want. But what we were trying to do is remove that hardware like a Ziosk is, which is like that tablet at the table, and just have that all done on your phone.
Just have a QR code and
right. Cool. Because it's much cheaper, right? And much more convenient for the user.
And you don't have to like do hardware testing and design and stuff and send it off to some factory and do all that stupid bullshit with supply chain. And like, you can just have an app and it's like, oh, it's done.
That's why people invest in software companies versus hardware companies. There's so much more investment in software. Yeah.
Right. Cool.